Welcome back, tribe. It just keeps on getting worse, unfortunately. I want everybody to take a second and recognize the gravity of this situation because it's much worse than we've ever expected. So it says British government demands social platforms to demonetize Russell. Rumble refuses to comply. Says Russell Brand was recently accused of having abused and R-worded several people. This was stated in a documentary created by Channel 4 Dispatch in collaboration with Sunday Times, Times of London. Again, trial by media. We've all heard all the arguments happening. The fact that it says, according to reports, the UK Parliament tried to get another platform to do the same, but it refused. So they're saying that he had his YouTube content demonetized. Think about this. The government, the UK government, messaged YouTube, asked them to demonetize him without a trial. This is a failed democracy. We're watching the erosion of everything that made the West great happen before our very eyes. No due process, no rights, nothing. You are branded an enemy of the state with these charges that are brought to you anonymously, accusations. No formal proceedings in the court of law, no investigation by the police department, anonymous sources, and the government has issued this letter to Rumble. I am writing concerning the serious allegations regarding Russell Brand in the context of his being a content provider on Rumble with more than 1.4 million followers. The Culture, Media, and Sports Committee is raising questions with the broadcasters and production companies who previously employed Mr. Brand to examine both the culture of the industry in the past and whether that culture still prevails today. Still can't give us Epstein's client list. However, we're also looking at his use of social media, including on Rumble, where he issued his preemptive response to the accusations made against him by the Sunday Times. Accusations made by a news media. While we recognize that Rumble is not the creator of the content published by Mr. Brand, which, by the way, Rumble is located in an entirely different country. It's not like the UK is writing to their own platform on UK soil. They're begging the government that should be worried about inflation, the energy crisis from the Ukraine war, quality of life of its citizens, upholding democratic values around the world, securing borders, creating jobs, making sure society is stable, making sure wages increase and keeps up with inflation, public health and public education being a priority. All these things should be of top of mind to the UK government. But instead, the parliament is begging a private corporation, Rumble, to please demonetize this ex-drug addict, ex-comedian, ex-liberal leftist that used to be in our camp. Western democracies are backsliding into tyranny at an incredible rate. I would have never expected this level of censorship and guilty until proven innocent mentality coming from a Western democracy. It's absolutely abhorred. We would be grateful if you could confirm whether Mr. Brand is able to monetize his content, including his videos relating to the serious accusations against him. If so, we would like to know whether Rumble intends to join YouTube in suspending Mr. Brand's ability to earn money on the platform. We would also like to know what Rumble is doing to ensure the creators are not able to use the platform to undermine the welfare of the victims of inappropriate and potentially illegal behavior. Yours sincerely, Dame Caroline, MP. Rumble's response to this was, today we received an extremely disturbing letter from a committee chair in the UK Parliament. While Rumble obviously deplores assault, R-word, all serious crimes, and believes that both alleged victims and the accused are entitled to a full and serious investigation, it is vital to note that recent allegations against Russell Brand have nothing to do with the content on Rumble's platform. Just yesterday, YouTube announced that based solely on these media accusations at the behest of the UK Parliament, it was barring Mr. Brand from monetizing his video content. Rumble stands for very different values. We have devoted ourselves to the vital cause of defending a free internet, meaning an internet where no one arbitrarily dictates which ideas can or cannot be heard, or which citizens may or may not be entitled to a platform. We regard it as a deeply inappropriate and dangerous that the UK Parliament would attempt to control who's allowed to speak on our platform or to earn a living from doing so. Singling out an individual and demanding his ban is even more disturbing, given the absence of any connection between the allegations and his content on Rumble. We don't agree with the behavior of many Rumble creators, but we refuse to penalize them for actions that have nothing to do with our platform. Although it may be politically and socially easier for Rumble to join cancel culture mob, doing so would violate our company's values and mission. We emphatically reject the UK Parliament's demands. The attacks on Rumble are relentless from all angles and accelerating. Having the support of the people to defend what's right, constitutional values, is all I need to keep taking the punches and moving forward. I can never thank our supporters enough for getting behind us, Pavlovsky wrote on X. I think that is the CEO. Yes. And I have a short snippet here. This is from That Umbrella Guy, and he broke down something that I found very interesting. Another Russell Brand bombshell says the faked proof gets worse. Now look how insane this is. Watch.
Now, here's the thing. When you remove all of their edits to it, all the blurs and everything else, it changes the context exponentially. What you find out, these folks, they have actually had a relationship before. This was commentary about use of protection, and the person there, they end up getting treatment because, well, that comes up in the conversation. And again, it's not about the way you would think no means no comes up. Forgive the red line redactions, by the way. Again, those are mine. Welcome to the platform. So you can see how they frame it, of course. This is how it is presented by them in articles and more. You can see the date there. The date matches up. That is the exact same date of the report. You have Russell Brand. He's saying, I'm sorry. That was crazy and selfish. I hope you can forgive me. I know that you're a lovely person. Now, 7.5 hours later, you have this comment come in, and we're going to take this at face value, even though in another video I've talked about the cuts here. You can actually see the copy paste, the missize.
You see how different that looks? This looks normal. Then you can tell the cut happens here, and it literally changes to no means no. The highlighting of the white changes.
You can see missing timestamps here. The fact that this was copied in by itself because it's slanted. This was copied in by itself as well because it has another angle. And this was copied in by itself too.
This man is being attacked viciously by a certain camp at the behest of the government, no less. It's not trial by media. We now know the UK government is involved in trying to erase his presence online and therefore his reach, because he's calling out things as they really are. Whether you agree with the man or not, it is absolutely against democratic values to publicly hang him in the digital space over allegations, our new modern day witch trials. Simply point the finger, she's a witch, burn them at the stake. That is what we're doing today. And it's so lazy because they have text messages that are looking terrible, like a 10-year-old was attempting Photoshop for the first time in his life. You couldn't even size the cuts correctly. You guys couldn't even hire somebody with Photoshop skills to make it at least look believable. Why are there missing timestamps? Why is the text slanted? Can you not center the text at least? This is the level of incompetence. Yet, the scarier part is, this is all it takes to erase a man. Let that sink in for a bit. And again, we have to be mindful, this is simply a comedian. Even people that used to be in the government, something we're not talking about enough. But very recently, Nigel Farage had his banking taken away from him. I'm not sure if you guys were following this story. Essentially, here's how it unfolded. He got dropped by the exclusive bank Coots, started with a Twitter video and led to an apology from the BBC and NatWest's boss resigning. So he said a letter from the bank contained no explanation, and he had been told over the phone it was for commercial reasons. In the 6-minute video posted on Twitter, he said losing his bank account was the equivalent of being a non-person, and that the decision may fundamentally affect his future career, whether he can go on staying living here in this country. The establishment are trying to force me out of the UK by closing my bank accounts. In a second Twitter video, he said he'd been rejected from having bank accounts by 9 different companies. He said NatWest, the owner of Coots, offered him an account after his announcement last week, but it was not suitable because it was personal, not a business account. He claimed banks did not want him as a customer due to him being politically exposed person. A PEP for short, is someone who holds or has held public office and therefore may be more susceptible to bribery or corruption, was their reason. Says on July 4th, a BBC report, again, a BBC report, claimed the bank did not want him because he did not have enough money in his accounts. That's what they're saying. This is the mainstream telling you that, no, he's just broke. He couldn't afford it. The prestigious private bank requires clients to have at least £1 million in investments or borrowing, including a mortgage, or 3 in savings. The BBC reported that Mr. Farange's political opinion were not a factor in the decision, but it turned out it wasn't the case. After Coutts first told him they were cutting ties, Farange submitted a subject access request to them. He then received a 40-page document detailing all the evidence Coutts accumulated about him to feed back to its Wealth Reputational Risk Committee. It revealed staff at the bank spent months compiling evidence on the significant reputational risks of being associated with him. The main risks were reputational. Ms. Farange's high profile and actively courts controversy, having an opinion, having a voice that's not the establishment. Controversial means you can be debanked. Financial crime due to alleged Russia connections. Alleged. There's that word again. Alleged. I don't know how real these allegations are, but until they're proven, the public should have no opinion on this. This is the job of the regulators and law enforcement. The document reported on 18 July suggested the move was taken partly because his views did not align with the firm's values, including his position on LGBTQ rights and friendship with former U.S. President Donald Trump. Ultimately, it concluded that Mr. Farange's views were at odds with our position as an inclusive organization. That's all you need to know. So if you weren't paying attention to this, I just explained to you what happened. Now, this is a former leader of the UK Independence Party and a former member of European Parliament, and he could be debanked. They're willing to do this to an ex-politician. What do you think they'll do to the average man? If they're willing to put a former comedian that decided to speak truth to power, they're willing to do all of this, what do you think they'll do to a normal man? We're now living in a time where we cannot say that we're living in a democracy. When you can lob allegations in someone's direction, wipe their income, debank them, erase them from the digital space, you're no longer a democracy. When the government is so closely tied to big corporation, this is fascism. This is the original definition of fascism, merger of state and corporation. We're now behaving in the same manner that the people we point the finger at and say they have no rights, they have no freedoms, they have no democratic values, would be behaving. We have become the thing we point the finger at. It's a dark time in the Western world. I didn't expect things to accelerate to this extreme this quickly. We've had conversations about it in the past when they silenced Tate in the manner that they did. We now know, based on everything we're seeing now, and they're coming out in the open now and saying it, is that it had to come from a government directive. Back channels somewhere, an email gets CC'd to everybody all at once and they comply. Big tech and big government are sleeping in the same bed. And I've said this before, I think the key to freedom in our post-industrialized world and the next great battle will be the separation of state and corporations, just like we had to do with separating the church from the state. I don't know where our economic and political system is going to be headed from here on out. I could only guess, but I can tell you a republic we are not, a democracy we are not. You do not have rights. Your voice does not matter. And if you dissent from mainstream opinion, you will be punished. What would you call that system? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you've bought a shirt, thank you so much. Just got another one come in. Make masculinity great again. If you haven't, it's legionofmen.store. Appreciate you guys so much. It helps tremendously, especially what's going on in the world today, where we can't really depend on this platform because allegations are enough to get you kicked off completely. If you're undertaking the Spartan Challenge, keep grinding. Also, if you haven't, you could join our school community and be a part of weekly calls, check-ins, and network with men that are looking to align mind, body, and spirit just like you. Appreciate you guys. See you on the next one.